Okay. This week we're doing On Death Row, and it's exploring the story of Paneerselvam. He's an unwilling drug mule who was indicted in Singapore and sentenced to death. And as we explore this story, we also look at the other side of the coin, the people who have been tasked to perform executions here in Malaysia. And we're so honored to have two retired Malaysian executioners here with us today, Mr. Kesavan and Tuan Ranjit Singh. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning.
Now, most people might not realize that being an executioner is actually a real job. First of all, how did you get that job? Maybe we'll start with Tuan Ranjit. How did you get this job?
Okay, how did I get my job? Actually, I joined service in 1976 when I was just 18 years old, just after school. Okay, all right. When I came in, I was from rank and file. Then after 4 years, I became an inspector. Okay, when I was 26 years old, I wanted to venture into something different in the prison line because I feel that to do something else, something different, other than being a prison officer, so I wanted to try to be in the team where the executioners are. Okay, so when I was 26, I joined the team, and of course, when you first join the team, it was not that easy. Okay, it was not that easy because why? You were with all the gang, about 10 of them. They were about all seniors there. I was a junior. I think over the years, until from 26 years old until I retired, I was, slowly you came up the ladder, and so then I found it to be okay. It shouldn't be a problem on that part down there. Where when I first started, people told me, say that, when you go into this line, life will be like this, like that, then you'll be haunted, you'll be like this. When I think, no.
How about you, Mr. Kesavan? How did you become an executioner?
Okay, it's a bit interesting. When I joined the service as a young officer in 1987, they were during my training module. There's one chapter I recall my training, 6 months training. One of the chapter during the training was on execution, the procedures and how you go about and all that. So during that time, my instructor asked anybody interested to do or participate in this particular thing. So I was very curious. So out of 47 of us, young officers, so I used to be, I'll ask this question, quite a number of questions on this. And I was very curious to know, then usually executions done by senior officers. Like Tuan Ranjit and all that. So what happened was when I was posted to my first posting in Kajang, so there were one vacancy. So I just was interested, and then I was curious to know, and it's what Tuan Ranjit said, we have to be more on apprentice. So we used to do all the apprentice job. And initially, when I went for my first job, first execution, I'm supposed to assist, whereby I had some senior officers who was telling me, okay, this is not an easy job, task, and all that. You must be firm. So was my thing was I was very curious to know how things happen behind the wall. So it's not easy, and I think you must have the guts. You must be hard enough, and you must also be firm. That is what I learned during that, and it was an interesting job too.
Interesting.
I don't know what to say. Really.
that you would be curious about that and pursue it. But tell us about some of the responsibilities of as an executioner.
Okay, it's supposed to be me.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ranjit.
Yeah.
Ranjit.
Okay, so it's like this. Okay, the responsibility of executioner. Okay, first thing that we must know that in Malaysia, okay, we only practice execution only through hanging only. Okay, all right. So precisely, we have a few chambers in Malaysia, okay, situated in different places. So it's me who have to make sure that the chambers are all in good condition. Okay, the equipments are also good. Okay, so what I do is that for West Malaysia, I go every month to all the chambers down there to check that, make sure that the situation is good. Then for Sabah and Sarawak, I go every 3 months to check on that. And the equipments are of course very, very expensive. So basically, my job is to make sure, okay, when we get the warrant of execution, to get my team ready, to get the gallows ready, to get everything ready from A to Z. So the setting for that will be 1 day earlier, okay? And to set up for execution, say for 2 person at that morning, okay, we can go at maximum at one time, at one go is at 3 person, okay? So we said you are supposed to execute 3 of them. It will take you about 2.5 hours to prepare.
So, your only contact with the prisoner is when you measure him the day before,
Yes,
and
correct.
and after that when you pull the liver. So
That's all.
so you don't really see what goes on.
You don't interact, right?
Yeah, you don't really
No, no.
interact with the prisoner.
The thing is like this. We don't try to interact with them. Okay, because
Yep.
why, we would want to get too emotional with the thing, because we are a normal human being, so we have feelings. So to avoid all these kind of things down there, when you see the drama, the mother holding the leg and then crying and all the things, so I think it's not that good to go, to go through this.
Yeah.
So to avoid that, so what we do is that we after taking the weight down there, we move straight to chamber and we have another route where we can come out. So it's much easier for us, and nobody sees us on that part down there.
Mm.
And at that time, of course, we are taken care of by a team of police and all this, our movement and wherever we go at that time. Okay. So it's a very risky job.
How about you, Mr. Kesavan? Do you feel the same?
Oh, usually after execution, next day will be on leave. So I'll have a nice break, avoid staying in the place that I done the execution, go away from that area.
Why
In fact,
is that you
when
need
I
a,
was
yeah, go ahead.
doing that, even my housemate didn't know that I'll always say I'm on leave until it took them some time to realize that I was one of them. Nobody knows. Usually we're not supposed to reveal, and we are not supposed to say whatever happened within that. That's all.
How do you feel like before and after each execution or each job? Like, have you ever felt guilty or maybe not able to go to bed at night thinking what you have to do the next day? Tuan Ranjit?
Okay, like this, back to what Kesavan said just now. Why do we need to rest? Okay, the first thing is that when you receive the warrant execution, we will receive the thing earlier, so much earlier we'll receive the thing. So when you are preparing, your team to go into, your heart will start pounding, because why, you want to have a very perfect execution. There's a lot of responsibility on your head. Everything is as me, who's the chief execution officer there, whether the rope will be okay, whether the chamber will be okay, don't there be any mistake, then don't there be blackout. There are a few times I had down there when another 5 minutes before execution will be done, the whole prison there's a blackout down there.
Oh.
Then you cannot execute at that time, so you even have to use all those those lights, torch lights and all the thing, all whatever thing that we done down there. So you think, there's a lot of things on your head. You have to think, whether the whole process is going to be okay or not going to be okay. So you feel very tensed up until the time when execution is done, when everything is finished. Then you feel very, very, very much relaxed. Relaxed, only 50% relaxed you feel. So that is why you need to have a break. When you have a break down there, you feel very, release all whatever tension and whatever things that you have. When you go back to work on Monday, you feel like a normal person. That's that. So it is not a very simple job. So at that time, when you go and sleep at night, on that night down there you sleep, you feel you're really just fully exhausted on that part. That's why you need to have the break there.
But it's exhaustion, not so much about guilt, though, is it? Like,
no, because why, you see, like for me, I tell myself, because I choose to do this job. Okay, you talk about guilt, that how do you feel, that that after executing this person, how would you feel down there? But for me, I think I take it part of my job. Somebody has to do the job. Okay, all Correct. Somebody has to do the job down there. Because why? You talk about law, you talk about the country system, So execution is part of the system. Okay. So if you comes to execution where you do execution and all this thing, so when you think about that it is part of your job, you don't feel guilty on the part down there.
Do you ever
Yeah.
feel the guilt, to have to
Yeah.
take another life?
Right into today, no lah, no. Because I always tell myself it's just part of the job. No, I never felt that, because that's why I can live like a very normal person.
Mr. Kesavan, you feel the same way?
Yeah. If you ask me, I don't feel any guilt feeling here, because they have gone through the process, legal process, everything
Yes, correct.
given
That's the one.
due process in our country. And this has been clearly defined by the learned judges and all that. So our job is to just execute. And in my situation, I usually, when I studied biology and how we can see a child born this world, at the same time, I just also was curious to know how this thing happened. So when we do, as what Tuan Ranjit said, usually when do that's all, that we forget it, rest and forget it, and just go on with our work as usual. That's all.
Is it a trait that an executioner has to have to sort of separate the emotions from the job?
Yeah. I think that is in everybody's, because why? When we select new execution officers, assistants, and all this thing down there, this is part of it, where we train them how to control their, their emotion, how to do some. So it's not that easy, because you have to go over the years. For me, to tell you the truth, how did I overcome my emotion? How is that? It took me 10 years to do that.
Wow.
I was in the thing for almost 30 years. The 10 years was not a very easy years for me. Okay, it was very normal. After I was going for execution, when I was a young man, I told you, 26, I was, already in the team. Seeing the first execution, 2 of them to be executed that morning. When I went back home, I couldn't sleep. So I don't need all these kind of things. Running here, running there, asking, you think should be tomorrow morning, everything should be okay. No. Whatever thing is in you, And I said, and please, I said, no, assist me, help me for what I'm going to do afterwards. And everything will turn out to be very good. I think what I learned in my life is everything is inside you. Okay. What you believe, whatever thing is inside you, and you have to build that inside you. And I'm very sure things will go on fine. That's that.
How about you, Mr. Kesavan? Do you remember your first execution?
Okay, first I remember before I went in to participate in the first execution, and was the 2 senior officers, a good friend of mine, who came and took me out, spoke to me. He said it's not an easy task, and then you have a lot of scenes and all that. So I just listened to them, but I've decided to do what I wanted to do, and I just want. That's why I have to become involved in this particular job. You must be firm and you must decide what you want. It's like Tuan Ranjit said, you want to be very firm. So next day I went, I saw, and I see nothing much. It's interesting. And then the following day, I have to go to another prison because they had continuous, Tuan Ranjit said, first day here and the second day there. I went there and I did, it was quite good. And only thing is, before, as what Tuan Ranjit said, before I go for the job, I'll usually pray. And I said, I just want a clean job and I don't want the person to suffer. That's all. After the job done, next thing I'll just go back and pray that everything is fine. Thank you. And all the best to the person. That's all.
Tuan Ranjit, have you ever got emotional over an execution? Never. Have you ever been emotional?
No. Usually, you must be focused when you want to do this job. You must be focused, and whenever we do, we must be. We have to control our emotion.
Yeah.
As what Tuan Ranjit said, before you go into this job, you are supposed to assist the person to the trap door from the final cell. So that's the moment usually you have to build your strength. some of them refuse to come. Some
Oh
of
yeah,
them.
that's the thing.
So
Oh,
these
yeah,
things
yeah.
is the time where you have to take the challenge. How are you going to manage your emotion?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of them are also crying for their lives and waiting.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you talk about this, you talk about what Kesavan said down there. Some of them are very, very emotional. And I had one person who he cried from the time when the superintendent announced that tomorrow morning he's going to be executed until the time of execution he was still crying. When the warrant is read to them and said that tomorrow morning between the time of 5:30 to 6:30, that you're going to be executed now. They will look at the superintendent and ask the superintendent, say, no, can I see my lawyer? I'm not very happy about this. I'm not this one down there. So being very emotional at that time. They say we need to do this on the because but the whole process, like Tuan Kesavan was telling us now, the whole process down there, the law. I mean, when you go to the Supreme Court, then you go to, the Majlis. I mean, the whole process of law have already been done already. You get me or not? Okay. So there's nothing down there left already. You get me or not? So, but being a normal human being, of course, you know that you're going to die from 5:30 to 6:30 in the morning tomorrow morning. Definitely, you say, oh, so fast they have to die now. This is what's going to happen to me tomorrow morning. So they cannot accept the fact that tomorrow they're going to die. So that is the part down there that we have to control our emotional. And they also, by seeing them, that's why I said we try to finish it as fast as possible and get everything done. The whole thing in the process, you see them from the time when they meet their family until the time they die. So it's that.
What Tuan Ranjit, I remember you said in the beginning it was very difficult. But was there
Very
ever a
difficult.
time where you felt that maybe I cannot do this or maybe I shouldn't do this anymore?
I never.
No.
No,
You
because I
just
chose
pushed
this.
through. You just
I've
pushed
just pushed through and told myself, come on, anything you can do it. Just do what you're supposed to do. Because I wanted to do something different from what others can do. I said no. I said that okay. And then other than of course becoming an execution officer, not 100% my job is execution officer. I got other jobs as the deputy director of the prison. Then I became the director of the prison. Then other responsibilities that you have. Then you forget lah. You cannot be holding the whole thing. If execution was just I mean my bread and butter, okay, then I don't know what to say. But like I say, you go on Monday, everything is down there. Tuan, we need to see you. We need to have a meeting. We have to do this. We have to do that. So from morning, actually I going to office by 6:30 in the morning. Sometimes by 7 to 8 o'clock, then I go back. You're all the time with something.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially when you run a very big prison with 6,000, 7,000 prisoners. So you tend to forget all these things.
But
Like
have you seen people like young executioner officers dropping out because they cannot stand the emotional?
Yes. They
Yes,
cannot stand.
really.
Yes, of course. You see, for example, we open this for young officers. Okay, usually. So that you see, we have about say 100 of them who applied to become execution officers. Okay, whereas you need only the vacancy is only 5 only vacancies down there. So you have to take out 95 out from there. So there's a long process. First the interview, then from there you see their physique, how they are. Whether I look at them, the way they talk, whether this person can handle or not handle. Then the next part will be from the 100, there's only 50 left only from there. Then you give them a small training. Then from the training you can find out. You get me or not? So after part by part by part, then only you have the cream, where you only have the one that you needed, or 5 of them. That's all only. You get. So it's a very lengthy process. It takes you about 2 years before you can choose 5 of them.
Wow.
Okay. But
So
both
it's
of
not
you
easy.
but both of you are now retired. But
Yeah.
both of you look relatively young to be retired as executioners.
Yeah.
What was the motivation to retire?
No, because why? For me, it's time's up already for me to retire. I was given a chance to go extension another 2 years, which I feel no, because why? I wanted to spend time with my family, especially my wife. Because I love travel. Okay. Now the MCO you cannot travel anywhere. But before that, I could travel, to quite a number of countries we have been. Okay. And I go to India every year to pray. And whenever I pray, I sit down there and I tell, I interact between me. it's my way lah, between me and God, and telling and ask forgiveness for what I have done and all these things down there, son. And it gives you a very good feeling. Okay. And other than that, like I said, after execution, sometimes I go here, I go there, or sometimes after execution, you might be seeing me sitting then in KLCC, little, maybe anywhere, little Penang or something somewhere, going up down there. You might not know because what I went through on that morning.
Yeah.
That, or sometimes I might go to Hong Kong, I might go here, just that lah, just to forget that.
How about you, Mr. Kesavan?
Oh, I left the service earlier to go into the private sector after my work in the prisons, but it was a very interesting journey. What I can say that it's very interesting job. At the same time, we are gifted to do the job. Not all be able to carry out this, and we also follow whatever given, as you see, rukun negara kesetiaan kepada raja dan negara, whatever the king's order, we are given the task to do the job, and we are part of the team. Then I have no regrets, and it's part of our job.